Good morning or good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining me, Liz Fleming, the Efficiency Coach, for today's online workshop of the 7 steps to writing successful grant applications. Now, just before we make a start, I do want to say thank you for joining. Thank you for taking the time for the next hour or so with me to learn about grant applications and how you can write them in a way that will get you that funding for your organisation. So let's make a start. So just a little bit of housekeeping. Please have yourself on mute. This webinar will be recorded. If you have any questions, please pop them in the chat, starting with the letter Q, so I know that they're a question. And feel free to write any comments as we go as well. And just a wee note, since I am using the Eventbrite platform, sometimes emails can go into your junk and spam folder, so best to check those as well. Thanks for joining, Wendy. So I've got people online, and for people watching the recording, hello as well. So thank you. So who here today is a small business owner? Pop up your hand if you're a small business owner or a community group committee member as well. Basically, we all know that we are always super busy, managing a whole lot of different things, and we're trying to improve our businesses or our organizations. And when it comes to grant applications, what I'm finding is that the grant programs come out, but they have really short application time periods. So this is what I'm all about: getting grant ready, being in the know of when the grants are happening and who they're for. And we all know in our lives, especially today, resources and time are just completely scarce. We just don't have enough time or money or resources. We're wearing too many hats, and that's where I'm here to help you. So we don't want to put more pressure on you, but I do want to ask you one thing. How much free money are you missing out on if we don't at least investigate the applicable grant opportunities? If you think that you are missing out, or that you know that you've missed out on some grants, pop up your hand. I've had a few examples in the last little while where here in Victoria, where I'm based, a grant came out end of August. It said it would close end of September or before the allocated funds ran out, basically, and it closed within 2 weeks. So people that were in my membership, which I will talk about later on, which is one way to work with me, they got their applications in and hopefully we're successful. We haven't found out yet, but I've had people contact me and say, oh, I want to apply for this grant, and unfortunately it's too late because they've closed. So, there's a great example of a missed opportunity for not being in the know when it comes to grants. And, we all hate paperwork. We all hate having to do all that extra stuff that is just outside of our normal business as usual work, and already too much to do anyway. So I'm Liz, the Efficiency Coach. I'm a business coach and grant writer for small business. What I'm obsessed with is making sure your business has the best opportunity to be successful. You know how there's never enough hours in the day to get that grant application written or to even think about it? And it's just something that never gets done, and it just seems too stressful. What I do is help you and your business to be ready when those grant programs are released, so that you've got the right tools and information at your fingertips to be able to present your business in the best possible way to be successful. So I've got a bit of a crazy obsession with grant writing, but I do love writing the grant applications. For me, it is a way to learn about your business, to be able to ask those questions and inquire, how did you get there? What have you done? What do you want to do in the future? And how can we use the grants as a funding source to get what you want? So I've worked in corporate, in finance. I'm a chartered accountant. I've also worked in a couple of government agencies here in Victoria, Australia, which really opened my eyes to the vast number of grants that are available for businesses and community groups. I managed a few grant programs in that time, and now in my own business for the last couple of years, helping clients to get those grants to help move their business along and to grow and expand and capitalize on those plans. I've got an 85% success rate in writing grant applications, which I'm pretty proud of. I work really hard when it comes to grant applications, and I'll let you in on a wee secret. I do work better when there's a deadline. That's where my creative genius really comes out. So for those of you that don't like deadlines or aren't so structured, then that's definitely my zone of genius in helping people to stay on track and making sure we get everything sorted. But the other thing is, I'm also upfront about how strong your project is for that particular grant. And I do have clients come to me and say, hey, there's a grant program. I think this is my project. And we'll work together to either make it a stronger application or, work within the guidelines to make sure that they are in the running. So, and if you're not ready, so some clients don't have a business plan. And if a grant requires that business plan and we don't have one to attach, we either need to do one, which can be a lot of work, or we unfortunately just need to maybe skip this grant and start working on that business plan ready for the next grant program that's going to come out. So this is why I'm really passionate about being grants ready, so that when they do come out and they're only open for those 4 to 5 weeks, on top of everything else, it's a manageable process working together to get the grants done. And that's the same case for whether you're a business owner or a community group committee volunteer. You're working, you've got your own business as well, or time strapped. So it's exactly the same process. Doesn't matter what we're applying for or what organization you are representing. So as I said, grant applications are my thing, and it's all about allowing you to work in your zone of genius and to allow me to work in my zone of genius. So it's a collaborative approach where you know all the information about your business, and it's my job to extract that out of you and put that into the grant application for submission. So this is so true when it comes to grants, and especially, we've had a tough couple of years here in Australia or across the world. So if there's any grants we want to, it's my philosophy, if you're eligible, let's get them and apply, because if you don't apply, you're definitely not in the running. So nothing is more expensive than a missed opportunity. So we don't want any more opportunities walking out the door. So let's make a start. This is my proven process that I use with my clients and I've developed over many years to make sure that we're successful in our grant applications. And my guarantee to you today is that at the end of this, you will come away with 7 clear steps to follow when it comes to writing grant applications. And as I say, this is the process that I use with my clients. I recently did a grant within 24 hours. We used the same process. We just had to be really organized, and we got there, and that was a great achievement. And as I say, I work well towards the deadlines. So step 1, preparing to be successful. Now, success means different things to different people, but when it comes to grant applications, we need to make sure that we are getting all the information right from the start. So when it comes to applying for grants, being prepared is the number 1 step here. And so when the grant program is released, they will release a guidelines, eligibility criteria. They'll normally release an information pack. They might even have a webinar that you can go to get some more information and ask questions. But most importantly, it's about reading that criteria and working out from the very outset, are we even eligible? And a lot of people, it's amazing how many people skip over this bit, think they're eligible, but reading down the fine print, they might not be the right structure. They might not have enough employees, or they might have too many. And that's what's really important. We don't want to waste anyone's time. But we do want to make sure that if we're eligible, then we have the best chance of applying and doing this early. So I recommend that people print off the guidelines, go through it all with the highlighter and be like, yep, does our project fit into the criteria? Are the outcomes what they're trying to achieve? And does it really align with what we're trying to do? And, there'll be times when we do, maneuver our project to fit the guidelines, but we don't want to be creating a project from scratch, because 1, we just don't have enough time, and 2, it's much harder to write the application in the first place. So this is where we'll draft our outline. What's our project? And when it comes to grants, we're wanting funding, it's money. What are we going to spend that money on? And that's really important. What are those components? And same with the budget. Some grants will have an upper limit, some will have a minimum limit. So we've got to work out whether we are even eligible for the type of project that we are thinking about. So that's the first step. And I always say to people, I have a checklist that actually says, read the guidelines, read the guidelines, read the guidelines. Are we eligible? That is the number one thing we need to work out from the beginning. Now, next step is planning what you're going to do. So I treat the grant application just like any other project in your business, and working out what needs to be done. So again, when the program is released, the application form, normally a blank one, will be somewhere. And quite often now they're getting pretty tech savvy. So it's a portal to log into, creating, and I would, once we worked out you're eligible, creating that login and that password and go straight in at the beginning, because we can see the application forms right there and then. Then from that, working out what questions do we need to answer and creating a numbered checklist of all the components that are required for this grant application. And, there's some standard information that they all ask for, but all the grant programs are done by different departments, different agencies, and so they are all slightly different. But there's some key information that we need to be across right from the beginning. So that numbered checklist becomes really, really important. Also working out who's going to work with you on this project. So, we've already said we're all busy, we're already doing a million things. Who's going to have the time and dedication to get this grant done within that short time frame of 4 to 5, 6 weeks? And having a kickoff meeting. So going back to the numbered checklist, and allocating it, who's going to do what, and when does it need to be done by, working backwards from the submission date. So this work plan, I always want a couple of days buffer. So planning to obviously submit as early as we can, but making sure that we have all the information required and asked for in our submission. So again, it comes down to each grant program. Some will ask for information that's very specific. Some will say you can add whatever you like, and some will say only add what we've asked for. Any additional documents will not be reviewed. That doesn't have to be me, but I do recommend that you work with someone that has the experience and knowledge and has written grants before, or engaging a grant writer. More than happy to work with you. But this is where it can be really efficient, knowing what to include, not to include. There's always word limits and character limits, and we need to make sure that we are maximizing the information that is being sent in. We also need to remember that the people assessing the grant applications, there'll be hundreds, depending on the program, but they don't know anything about your business or your community organisation, and they probably don't know anything about your project either. So this is where we need to make sure we know what we're doing to be able to stand out from the crowd, so that we can have that tick of approval and the grants coming our way. Next step is creating and designing the project plan. So as I said, turning this into its own project, dedicating the time, what's the timeframes, when the deadlines, who's doing what, and also linking it to what is the funding for. So again, grant programs will say the project has to be done within 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, and aligning your project to that timeframe is really important. Allocating the tasks and actions to your team, who's going to be responsible for what, who's going to be the project lead, and how are you going to communicate that and bring it all together. If we're working together, writing the grant application, this is what I take the lead on. I create all of this with you, for you, and then, obviously we need to work together to extract that information about your business and your project from you. But, the majority of the work is done by me. And the budget. So what costs are involved? Because at the end of the day, we're asking for funding, we're asking for money. Sometimes there'll be limits of 50,000. If we've got a project that we want to apply for that's 150,000, do we have the extra funds available to us in our business or some other means to fund the rest of the project? And if not, then again, we need to review the project. Some grant programs require a 50% matching, so they'll give you 50%. and you'll have to find the other 50%. So again, that's why it's really important to read that criteria, read the eligibility criteria, and see where we are at. Step 4, now this is probably one of the most important steps because we need to make sure we're giving the right information, the right documents to the grant application. And as I said before, answering the question, I always like to think of it as either applying for a job and answering all the key selection criteria, or when you're doing an assignment. Are we answering the question that is asked? What are they requiring? And as I said, sometimes they can say you can add up to 6 additional attachments. So we could add some photos, we could add some design stuff. And other times they say, just send us what we've asked for and nothing else. So again, this is all in the guidelines and comes back to your numbered checklist of what do we need. Now, this is one thing that I find that people aren't aware of that we can attach and include in our grant applications is the letters of support. And what I mean by that is your project, more often than not, is going to benefit more than just you. So more than just your business or more than just your community group. Who else is going to benefit from this project happening? So are there other suppliers? Are there other customer groups? All that kind of stuff. And are there neighbouring businesses that you're collaborating with that if this project happens and increases your production, it's also going to increase the supply chain requirements across other businesses. And that's who you would get your letters of support from. This also links back to the outcomes for the grant program of what we're trying to improve, who we're trying to benefit. But that is a really good way to show that this project isn't just going to benefit your business. And what we do there is we actually draft those letters of support, send them through on a Word document, get them to put on their letterhead and sign it and send back to us. So again, we're trying to make it really easy and incentivize people to help us out to strengthen our grant application. Getting quotes. Now, this is one thing that can take a bit of time. Everyone's busy. Some suppliers don't like doing quotes if they know that you're waiting for a grant. So this is where it's really important to build those relationships with those suppliers. And in my Grants Ready program that I run, we plan a project when we're waiting for a grant program to open. And we build those relationships and actually get the quotes. And then what it means is when a grant program comes out, we can then go back to those suppliers or those businesses and say, hey, look, can you just update that quote for us or update the dates or whatever it might be so that we can get it really quickly. Because at the end of the day, if we don't have the quotes to submit the grant application, it'll be a requirement we won't be able to submit. So one, we want to get multiple quotes for the same thing and hope that at least one of them comes back and make sure that we're not waiting till the very last day to get those quotes. So again, it's all in the planning, all comes down to who you're going to get it from. And also the budget becomes really important as well, because that budget and what we're asking for the funding for really shapes what we're going to talk about and how we're going to answer the questions in the rest of the application. Some grants, when they're larger grants, so sometimes when they're more than $50,000, they will require you to submit the last 3 years of your financial statements. So again, having those up to date is really, really important. Lucky for you, as I said, I'm a chartered accountant. We can jump into your Xero, run those reports, and I can sign them off for you rather than having to go to the accountant or sending all your income tax stuff in. So that's just another thing to be mindful of. And here it is all about getting shit done. At this point, this is kind of the last step to have everything ready. We've got everything they've asked for. We've got the budget. It fits within the guidelines. We're meeting the criteria. The outcomes are what we are planning to do and all that kind of stuff. And then we can actually start writing. Now, I've run these workshops for the majority of this year, and the number one surprising thing when I ask for feedback is that they say, can't believe that it's not till step 5 that you start writing the draft application. So yes, in the previous steps, when you're writing your numbered checklist, you're writing your blank application form, you can jot down some ideas and all that kind of stuff. But to be efficient and to make sure that you're writing it in a good way, we do wait till all that stuff's done to then write it all in one block. So again, going back to the criteria, the objectives, and making sure that we are answering the question that they are asking. So for example, they might say, can you describe your business in 50 words? And that's where we'll brainstorm what are all the key components that we need to describe for your business. Might come up with 200 or 300 words, and then we need to pull out the important parts to get it to the 50 words. So that's the skill as well. Now, this is where we're going to check the assessment weighting. So quite often they'll say these 4 questions, or this is the weighting, so 10%, 20% when they're marking, the panel are marking your application. So again, we need to be stronger in those higher weightings. But we still just need to write professionally and honestly across the whole application as well. And I've mentioned it, there are word and character limits, which can catch people off guard. And especially now, I see that using the digital platforms where you log into a portal and you copy and paste from a Word document into the portal, don't directly type in, and it says 200 words and you've got 220 words, it'll cut it off. So the technology is smart enough to not allow you to have more than the 200 words. So, you know, it's in the essence of fairness, but sometimes it can be really hard to get your key information across in the word limit. So that's, again, a skill in itself, and that's something that I can definitely help you with. So the next step is where we're trying to make our project sound the best project that there is. So again, the panel know nothing about you, they know nothing about your project. So, you know, we need to add our why and our story, and writing in a persuasive way that they can really grasp what we're trying to achieve, and really showcase and highlight what we've already done and what our future plans are as well, because that's what they want to see. You know, all grant programs are competitive, and they also want the best return on investment. They want to use it as a marketing thing to say, hey, our grant program, our money that we gave out achieved this, this, and this. So we want to be part of that as well. And that's where, you know, benefiting more than your business, benefiting a community, benefiting a certain group of society, just, you know, increasing that supply chain are all important objectives that, you know, the government agencies are trying to better by giving out these grants. And this is where we're going to, you know, talk about our project and with the most impact, and again, linking back to the objectives of the grant program. Making sure that we are really specific as well. It's amazing when sometimes I review grant applications that have been written, and one, they're not answering the question, and two, they leave out the most basic of information, because of course, we all know our business is inside out, we make assumptions, or we just simply forget that, you know, I've seen ones where it said, describe the project, and they haven't actually even stated what they're going to purchase. Whereas I would always start with, this project is to purchase XYZ. The benefits are, and in really simple, plain English for anyone to understand. We don't want them to get confused. We don't want them to think, oh, are they buying this or are they buying that, or what's going on? We just want it to be really, really simple for them to say, yes, this is a great project, let's support it. Now that brings us to our last step. So we've gone through all the planning, we've got all the documents, we've written it, we've added our story, we're nearly at the end. I always make sure that somebody reviews the application for a couple of reasons. So I will send it back to the client, that one final check. They can check that everything is factually correct, that they're happy with what I've written, that they're committing to that in terms of what their future plans are, the budget, the quotes and everything lines up. Also checking the grammar, but making sure that I haven't, you know, in all of it, that I haven't missed anything out, and that they're, you know, they're happy with their application. Submitting it, we want to submit it ideally 1 to 2 days before. More often than not, they review and assess the grant applications in the order that they are received, which doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to miss out if you're the last person, but we don't want to risk it. And also, if they close at 11:59 p.m. and you're trying to submit it at 11 o'clock and your computer crashes, there'll be no one there to help you. So we don't want to leave it to the last minute. And I did have a client that happened to. Luckily, they were able to email it through. But nowadays, I've noticed lately, the grant programs have said, if it's not in the portal by the time, sorry, you've missed out. So we don't want to be in that situation ever. And this is really important to celebrate because this is a project in itself. It's not an everyday task. And it's an opportunity for your business to reflect on where you've come from and what you're doing for the future. And that, there's going to be some growth coming if you are successful in getting this grant. So it is really important to celebrate. And then also think about how you can use that grant application in the future as well. So some people then use some of the content that we've created on their website, or as promotional stuff, or as an opportunity to go and, talk to other businesses for other opportunities as well. So it's never just for a grant application. And I suppose that's why I enjoy doing them as well, because it's sort of in essence similar to a business plan when you're learning about the businesses. And as you start thinking about things slightly differently, you find that more opportunities come up and it opens up so many more doors. So there we have it. That is my process that I use when I am writing grant applications. So the 7 steps to writing successful grant applications. If you can pop into the chat what your biggest takeaway was from what I've just shared with you. What was the one thing that you learned that you didn't know about, that was, surprising, or that just, what was your biggest takeaway? You can pop that into the chat. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But yeah, that is the process that I use for every single grant application that I write. But yeah, Michelle, preparation is key. That is definitely it. And it is surprising how many people say that they just start writing and then they sort of get halfway through and they realize, oh, hang on, I don't have that document, or I'm not eligible, and they've just wasted all this time. I did have a client that I was writing a grant application for a grant program. We got some letters of support. One of the businesses that we reached out to for the letter of support was a wine business, and they said, oh, we're applying for this grant too. Yet this particular grant program specifically said in the guidelines, wine businesses are excluded from applying. And my client was like, oh, they should have talked to you, Liz, because they wouldn't have wasted their time applying. So unfortunately, there are grant applications being put in where they just will get an absolute knockback from the beginning because they do not meet the criteria, the eligibility criteria from the beginning. This was a very simple and yet thorough overview. For me, it was adding your why. Yeah, it's really important because especially if you're just buying equipment or doing sort of some really basic upgrades or something, it's like, how is that really going to impact your business or your community group to really have that impact? That's the most important thing, because that's really where you're going to get your differentiation between everybody else applying as well. Especially some grants can be quite specific about what you can purchase with that particular grant program. So you've really got to work some magic to work out how you're different, what's your point of difference, and why they should support you. So, and again, it's just thinking about your organization in a different way, and how you can really grow and impact different people and different groups as well. So writing letters of support, yeah, this is one thing. I reckon half the grant programs that I've worked with don't specifically ask for letters of support. Some do, and a lot don't. But I always encourage my clients to write those letters of support and include them, just to show that you've got community support, that you're collaborating, that you're working with other businesses, and that this grant funding is going to benefit more than just you and your profit if you're in business. So it's those little tricks that I learned when I was in government on the other side, assessing grants and seeing, what people were looking out for, and really coming down to how can we rank the projects, because they'll be quite often they're oversubscribed. We can't support all the projects. So again, if you don't submit a document that's been asked, little things like that will just knock you out from the beginning. So that's what we want to avoid as much as we can. Cool. Well, thank you for sharing. I do love to see what people take away because, as I say, I've done this for a while now and I forget that it's not my, not everybody's cup of tea, and some people hate it and some people have had different experience. So, yeah. So I do just want to, if you have any questions, pop them in the chat. I am going to go through a couple of questions now that come up quite frequently when I'm talking to people about grants. So Kate's got a question there. Majority of grants available for not-for-profit groups. Am I simply not seeing the small business grants? So Kate, in Australia here, we had a lot of grants during COVID. We had a lot of wage subsidies. We had a lot of funding from government, federal and state, that were called grants, but were kind of subsidies. Now that we've coming out of COVID, there aren't as many small business grants. And that's where it's important to be looking specifically in your council area, and your state and federal as well. But at the moment, there are less grants out there than there has been the last couple of years. And there is definitely a lot more community not-for-profit grants as well. And this is where it's important to be checking their eligibility, because if you're a business and the grant is only for not-for-profit applicants, you can't apply, or vice versa. So, but this here might help. So there are some directories that are for Australia that you can, some are free, some you can subscribe to, that you can search for grants for you, but you've still got to wade through them and work out whether your project aligns with them. But there's definitely some examples. Another question that comes up quite often is people reach out to me and say, I'm starting a business, I want a grant to start my business. Now, when it comes to grants, as I said earlier, it's about return on investment for that government agency to say, hey, look, we provided this grant funding to these people and this is what happened and these were the outcomes. Starting a business is risky. So it's too risky to provide cash to start a business. What there are in some instances, like accelerator or incubator programs, where it might be 12 weeks of your time to learn about growing a business or starting a business. But in terms of grants specifically to start a business, there really aren't any. So I always, I do a lot of strategy work as well. I always encourage people, if you are starting a business, depending on what it is, you've got to start with at least $5,000 as an absolute minimum. That will allow you to go and get some professional advice, some mentoring, and work out and you research and work out your minimum viable product, so that you set up for success right from the beginning. But if you are starting a business, come and have a chat and we can see what's the best avenue for you. And how are grants assessed? We don't really know. We don't know who's on the panel. It's all done behind closed doors. So all we can do is use the guidelines and the information that is provided to us through the information guides to make sure that we're answering the right questions in the right way to have the best possible outcome for us. Here, I just wanted to share with you some businesses that I've helped with successful grant applications. Hang on. Oh, yeah. So Adam and Yulia, they applied, they're creatives. We were on a bit of a tight deadline, and keeping them on track was really, really important. And we did get it submitted in time, and we're still waiting for that assessment. Chris, $25,000 grant for a cool room at his farm shop. That's made him more efficient. It cut down on driving time. It meant that he could store more of his goods in one trip. And Ben and Jessie, they had success with $27,000 worth of grants, which turned their side hustle into a full-time job for Ben. So that was really exciting, and that just fast-tracked that amazingly. That one was a bit different. They'd been in business for a few years, and that one was a specific early stage business grant within the first 3 years in their region, but that was probably an anomaly when it comes to starting up businesses. So I can show you how I can help you and your business to grow and expand with business grants. I feel that it's like a hidden economy and people don't know about it. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I do have my masterclass of how to write effective grant applications. So this is a full day course. I'm running it October, November, December this year, where we will go into much more detail than I've shared with you today. And we will go through real life examples of what to do, what not to do, what templates to use, what information we need for the majority of grants so that we can really be grant ready for when it comes out. And we go in depth, and at the end of it, you will be confident to be able to write those grant applications for your organization. So I will pop the registration link in the chat if anyone is interested in that. As I say, there's 3 days available coming up: Tuesday the 18th of October, Thursday the 24th of November, or Tuesday the 6th of December. At the moment, there are it's sort of coming into grant season. I feel like spring, September, there were a lot came out, and they will continue to come out. You know, they come out all across the year, but I think now there will be more coming out as well. So it's about keeping an eye on for that. It is $497, but that actually, each ticket includes the opportunity for 2 people from the same organization to come along. It's online, so you can learn together. You can then, you know, delegate the task afterwards and share your knowledge together and learn together as well. So each ticket for $497 includes the opportunity for 2 people from the same organization to come along as well. So you're not doing it on your own, and you can split the task and the work when it comes to actually writing it as well. So the other thing that I've also created to help businesses is my Grants Club VIP membership. Now, this was born just a couple of months ago out of a need for businesses wanting to know about grants, but not having the time to look for them, not knowing where to look. And, you know, I basically just ran out of time trying to talk to people. And also, there might not be a grant today, but over a 12-month period, more often than not, there are grants that come out in some shape or form. So this is where I have created my Grants Club VIP membership for businesses to join, to be part of my community, to be in the know about grants, to be the first to find out about them. And then also we will do all the hard work and search for those suitable grants for you and your business. So if people are not looking for them or don't know where to look, or it's just too time consuming or too overwhelming, we do all of that for you if you're in the membership. We show you how to use grants to grow and expand your business. So within the membership, there are strategy calls at the beginning where we learn about your business. You tell us what you are working on and what you want to do, and also have that strategy to see what other opportunities we could develop for your business or community group. We share our proven process on how to write grant applications, and we provide you with special discounts to get your grant written by us as well. So that is part of it. And also there will be quarterly masterclasses. So that masterclass that I just spoke about, if you join the membership, these masterclasses are actually free. So you can come along to that. I'm also going to be running in 2023 signature programs to get ready for grants and get really in depth and get all those documents ready. And including strategy and growth plans and project plans, which will be exclusive to the members. I've created a private Facebook group for learning and sharing with other members. And as I've mentioned, you get the personalized strategy call to get you started. So what's included? 12-month membership, one-on-one strategy call with me, private Facebook group, quarterly masterclasses on topics related to grants, total value of more than $4,000. So yeah, really proud of what I've created here and excited to be having businesses join. But today, for joining me and for listening to me, as I said, valued at $4,000. We're not going to pay that. $1,650 including GST, which basically works out at about $30 a week. So I've based it on 1 hour of your staff member a week looking for grants, and I know they don't look for grants, or they're busy doing other stuff. So that's what I've based the membership price on. Or you can take the payment plan of 4 monthly payments of $497. I will pop the link in. Oh, hang on. To my website, so you can go and have a look at the offer. Oh, there we are. So if someone can click on the link and let me know that it is working, because we don't want to have any technical issues. And I'm also feeling very generous today. I have a sign-up bonus for those action takers out there. If you join up by the end of the webinar, you will receive 2 extra strategy calls with me. So you'll get the one included at the very beginning. It's a 12-month membership, so you'll get one at about the 4 or 5 month mark, and then sort of like near the end to see where you're at for the future as well. So that means you get 3 strategy calls rather than just the one, to help your business grow and create those opportunities. So the other thing I have with my grants membership is that I guarantee that if we do not match you with suitable grants within your 12-month membership to the value of what you've paid, so the $1,650, you'll get your money back. So it basically means it's risk-free. What I'm finding with the members that I've got already, when we start looking for grants, we find them and they've been able to apply for them. So that's pretty exciting. You hear of people and programs and grants directories saying there's 1,500 grants, and I think Kate said earlier that, am I missing them all? But it's knowing where to look, knowing what you're really focusing on within your business and your strategy, and what's going to fit your business to find those grants that are suitable and that you are eligible for to apply. So just recap over the summary of what's included in the membership. So 12-month membership. So it'll be from now until the end of September 2023. One-on-one strategy call with me. Private Facebook group where I will be sharing my grants wisdom with you. Quarterly masterclasses. There's one coming up to writing those grant applications. And once you're in the membership, what happens is we match you with the grants. You can then decide whether you want to apply or not, and then you can choose to catch up with us, but choose to either write it yourself, get us to write it, or do it together through a review process to make sure that your application is as solid as it can be. Again, total value of $4,000, makes it more than $5,000 with the 2 extra strategy calls, all for $1,650, including GST, which is about $30 a week, excluding GST. So 1 hour a week of a staff member. That is all you're investing to be in the know. And also, once we match you with one grant, we don't stop looking. We keep looking for grants. So yeah, exciting. And remember the money back guarantee if I don't find your grants. So I've also got a free Facebook group where I just share my general business tips with everybody. And the link for this is not working. I will pop, or actually no, use the QR code on the screen, just pop your phone up to that, or I will pop the link into the email after the webinar as well. So just got a little technical glitch there at the moment, but I would love to see you in that group. That is free. Anyone that's been to this webinar can join that. It's a great place to be around like-minded businesses that are wanting to become more efficient, grow their business, and learn from others as well. So I would love to see you in that group. So a couple of offers there. We've got the masterclass coming up, 3 days there, and also the business Grants Club VIP membership. If you do want to have a chat about either of those, stay online and we can chat about after. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity, and we spoke about that today, that preparation is key. Being grants ready is really important, and then we can be good to go when the grant programs come out. If you do want to get in touch, there's my email and my phone number if you're in Australia, and my website, and of course I am on Facebook and Insta, or you could add me on LinkedIn if you want to connect that way as well. So please do get in touch if I can help your business or community group with your grant applications. As I say, it's what I do, it's what I love doing, and I would love to speak to you. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you guys soon.